USC Trojans JuJu Watkins, Rayah Marshall Naismith Defensive Player of the Year candidates. USC Trojans senior center Rayah Marshall and sophomore guard JuJu Watkins are on the shortlist for the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award. It is Marshall's third time being named to the watch list in her career. USC Trojans senior center Rayah Marshall and sophomore guard JuJu Watkins are on the shortlist for the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award. They are 2 of 15 players that will be up for the award. This marks the third time Marshall has been on the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year watch list. She was a semifinalist in 2023 as a sophomore after setting the USC single-season record for blocks with 98. This season, Marshall is a big reason the Trojans are ranked No. 1 in the country in blocks per game. Marshall's 2.2 blocks per game lead the team and are ranked No. 20 in the nation. She is also the team's top rebounder, averaging 9.0 per game. While Marshall hasn't caught the front court, Watkins has been taking care of the backcourt. The Trojan star guard leads the team in steals and is second on the team in defensive rebounds and blocks per game. Marshall and Watkins are 2 of 5 players from the Big Ten on the watch list, including UCLA center Lauren Betts, Ohio State forward Taylor Thierry, and Wisconsin forward Sarah Williams. Stanford and current Los Angeles Sparks forward Cameron Brink won the award last season. Immooro, what USC Trojans JuJu Watkins said about Caitlin Clark jersey retirement, Iowa loss. Immooro, Chicago Bears offensive coordinator Declan Doyle opens up on Caleb Williams' new role. Immooro, USC Trojans commit Brandon Lockhart recruiting Georgia commit Vance Spafford to the flip. Watkins is also on the shortlist for the Ann Myers Drysdale Shooting Guard of the Year award. The award recognizes the top shooting guard in women's NCAA Division I college basketball. Watkins can become the first player to receive the honor in back-to-back years after winning it as a freshman in 2024. The Trojans got back in the win column on Wednesday after defeating the Wisconsin Badgers 88-64. USC enters the toughest stretch of the season that will greatly affect their seeding in the Big Ten tournament. They will host Ohio State on Saturday, February 8. The Buckeyes dropped only their second game of the season on Wednesday to No. 1 UCLA, but it was their second loss in conference play. They now drop a game below the Trojans in the Big Ten standings. USC will then face their crosstown rival UCLA on February 13, then travel up to Washington on February 16, and then come back home to host No. 20 Michigan State on February 19. The Bruins sit atop the Big Ten standings with a perfect 22-0 record. USC is in second place at 20-2, Ohio State is in third at 20-2, and Michigan State is in fourth at 18-4. With 6 games remaining in the regular season, every school in the conference is in a tight finish to the end. USC versus Connecticut, an elite rematch between stars JuJu Watkins and Paige Bueckers. The seeds for the most anticipated matchup of this women's college basketball season were planted decades earlier in the halls of Scarsdale High School in New York, where Geno Auriemma was hot on the trail of one of the sport's most coveted recruits. As part of his full-court press to convince her, the Connecticut coach went so far as to enlist the help of her best friend, who would one day make a name for herself in the same world as Auriemma. Lindsay Gottlieb tried her best to convince her friend, Hillary Howard, on Connecticut, to no avail. But the relationship between Gottlieb and Auriemma remained. When Gottlieb injured her knee as a high school senior, Auriemma reached out to offer his help. It was during that recovery process that Gottlieb first considered coaching, and over the years, as she climbed through the ranks, Auriemma would offer regular encouragement. When she led California to the Final Four in 2013, Auriemma, in the midst of a dynastic run with the Huskies, assured her it wouldn't be the last. I remember him looking at me and saying, "Enjoy the first one. You'll be back," Gottlieb recalled this week. It was Connecticut that would ultimately keep Gottlieb and USC out of the Final Four last season, and with both teams now on a similar collision course this season, Gottlieb and Auriemma will meet again Saturday for a marquee matchup that's been billed as one of the most consequential games of the college basketball calendar. The matchup pins not only two of the best coaches in women's college basketball against each other again, but also arguably its two biggest stars, USC's JuJu Watkins and UConn's Paige Bueckers. That was enough, amid the groundswell of new intrigue around women's college basketball, to pique the interest of Fox, which put the game in a coveted primetime slot, where it's slated to follow the network's Saturday NFL game. For USC, it's one of 9 games the team will play on national TV this season, 6 more than last season. We thought it would be a great opportunity for both teams to test ourselves and one another, but also to put a really quality matchup on TV early, Gottlieb said. We have a team we want to put on the biggest stage. We have a program that has aspirations to win in March, and you just can't do that unless you're playing high-quality games throughout the year. Read more. USC women hold Elon to 30 points for their 10th victory of the season. USC rides a 6-game win streak into Saturday, during which the Trojans have won their games by an average margin of 40 points. UConn has been similarly dominant, with wins over 3 ranked teams this season. But the two contenders each slipped up in their toughest tests to date, as both fell in their respective matchups with No. 3 Notre Dame. Notre Dame was an early test that we obviously didn't pass, Gottlieb said. You want to be at your best early and then try and grow from there. But if you're not, the alternative is to look in the mirror and get better and keep working on the things you think will help you get there. I do think we've grown since then. Much of that process since has focused on finding more firepower alongside Watkins, who Gottlieb says is now seeing defenses created around stopping her. Still, the sophomore superstar has managed to score 20 points or more in all but one game this season. Forward Kiki Ariafen wasn't on the roster when USC lost to UConn last March, but so far has been one of the better secondary scoring threats in the sport this season, averaging 18.7 points per game. But USC may need more than Watkins and Ariafen alone to take down the Huskies. That's because Connecticut has an even deeper well of scorers behind Bueckers, who's shooting an absurd 58% from the perimeter. Overall, no team in women's college basketball has been hotter from the field this season than the Huskies, who are one of 4 teams in the sport to make better than 50% of their shots. UConn forward Sarah Strong should make for a fitting foil to Ariafen as the Huskies' best secondary scorer, 17 points per game, and rebounding threat, 8.3 rebounds per game. She's fresh off a career-high performance against Iowa State, in which she scored 29. Read more. She went to prison in Varsity Blues admissions scandal. Now she says she was a scapegoat. You have to worry so much about Paige, Gottlieb said, that it opens things up for Sarah. That's just one facet of a chess match that should not only provide both powers with an early barometer of where their seasons are headed, but also give the sport a marquee early matchup to maintain its momentum. That's an opportunity, Gottlieb said she couldn't turn down when Fox first expressed interest. I've known for a long time that there's a couple teams and a couple windows that get the exposure, Gottlieb said. Really where we've tried to bring the program, it's definitely significant. Get the best, most interesting and strangest stories of the day from the LA sports scene and beyond from our newsletter, The Sports Report. This story originally appeared in Los Angeles Times.